Testing, testing. I'm always testing. Okay, at least it's on. Pat can. Oh, there's Pat. Bless you. We're going to let you introduce. It's our first one. We've got readers. We'll see.
Oh, this is our first one. It's a dry run. Oh, okay. Do you have that? Or do you want me to? This is.
Jeff's getting the door.
Okay, we're organized. It's the first one. So kicking off Adult Ed would like to bring in the leaders of the church for the first couple Sundays. And so this Sunday we're going to be hearing from the deacons and everything that they have been up to last year and everything that they're up to currently, something new that they're going to be involved in. And so the one thing that I wanted to do as we start this, I just want to remind everyone of what our church vision statement is. So the vision statement says, First Presbyterian Church shares a vision to be present in the Sioux Falls area as the visible face of Christ. In this vision, the words of our mission statement take on clear direction and added dimension. We connect, serve, and grow with God and others within our congregation so that we may in turn connect, serve, and grow with God and others beyond ourselves, knowing that even as we strive to bear the face of Christ in our relationships with our neighbors, we will find the face of Christ in the very neighbors whom we serve. This should be very familiar. You have heard this for years and years and years. We are to be the visible face of Christ. And as we've listen to 5, now 6 weeks of Ephesians, we should have a pretty good idea of what that face is. Kindness, gentleness, compassion, forgiveness, all of those sorts of things. And it is through the work of the deacons that this most comes through. So, Jana Phelps is our congregational care coordinator. If you don't know her, she's right there. But I will let Jana talk about a new initiative, a new thing that the deacons are up to. And then Sharice Kelleher, who is a deacon, will give you a little more detail about the congregational care team of deacons. And then Denise Koba will talk about all the things that neighborhood care team has been up to. So, a lot of information going to be thrown your way.
Good morning. I'm Jana Phelps, Congregational Care Coordinator here at First Presbyterian Church. I work closely with deacons and with the people of the church to look for and go through the needs of all the people here at the church. One of the needs that we have had in the recent years has been transportation. Also, in our community, we try to work from the congregation to the community. It has also been a transportation issue. We have Christopher Montgomery here, who I'll introduce from Project CAR today, who works to serve the community for all those who have transportation issues and transportation needs. So I'm here to introduce Christopher Montgomery, if you'd like to come up. Christopher is the executive director at Project CAR. We have been working closely lately to look at the community and at the church needs for transportation. So I will turn it over to Christopher to talk to you about what Project CAR is and what it does in the community.
Yeah, thank you. Project CAR was started in 1980 by First Lutheran Church, First United Methodist Church, Peace Lutheran Church, and Senior Companions of South Dakota. It was a group of people that got together because they were seeing what they identified as being a lack of transportation options for primarily senior citizens to be able to get to worship services or volunteer activities, companion care. They saw the lack of coordination among the city agencies and the city bus program. And so they started what they thought was just going to be a very short-term project, this project Call a Ride, C-A-R for car, where senior citizens could call one number at an office based out of First Lutheran Church and be able to set up a ride to a worship service or a volunteer activity or companion care. Well, here we are 43 years later, and we're still doing it. This short-term project that they thought would just last a couple of years has gone on quite a while as transportation issues continue to rise. We're all seeing this now with the limitations in the city bus service and with a lot of the cab companies pulling out of Sioux Falls. And then just with the sheer amount of traffic and construction, a lot of seniors don't particularly feel comfortable driving, and then in the winter as well. So primarily what we did for our first 30 years was that, transporting senior citizens and persons with developmental disabilities to worship services and employment and senior care and volunteering. Well, in 2011, we were approached by a network of Lutheran churches in town called Charis Ministry Partners. One of the things that came up in one of their meetings was that a lot of folks were showing up to their individual church buildings asking for rides to medical appointments. Well, this group was familiar with Project CAR because we worked with a lot of their churches and said, well, why don't we get together with Project CAR and see what we can do to kind of coordinate rides to health appointments. And so that first year, we gave probably 80 rides to medical appointments just as they came up. And now that accounts for about 60% of what we do. This year alone, we'll wind up giving about 6,000 rides just to healthcare appointments in Sioux Falls. These are low-income people, senior citizens, kids, people of any age who, because of lack of finances, resources, transportation, anything else, they can't get to a doctor's appointment, we provide that for them. And that comes at no charge to them. We don't have any kind of a lengthy application process or income verification. We really feel like it's a ministry of compassion. If somebody calls and says they need a ride, we offer them a ride. And what sets us apart on that front from being like Uber or Lyft or some of these other transportation services is that from its inception, Project CAR has been about building relationships with the community. and preserving the self-worth and dignity of the people we serve. Even though we're affiliated with all of these different religious groups, we're an ecumenical nonprofit. We don't have any distinct religious values. But we clearly identify with the teachings of Jesus that say that where God is present is on the margins of society, and so that is where we need to be present and where we need to be serving. So most of our work is done with folks that are very low income, and we work to develop these relationships with them. I'm just going to share a story about early last year in 2022. We received a call from a nurse care manager, social worker at the Avera Cancer Institute. They had a patient who had just been diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer, and he needed rides to be able to get to the Cancer Institute for his treatment. And they said even with treatment, his prognosis was maybe 6 months to a year, but without treatment, it was probably going to be a week, maybe 2 weeks. And he wanted to pursue treatment to have a little bit longer time with his family, but he had no way of getting there. He was on disability. He had no vehicle, no way of getting there at all. So the Prairie Center, the Cancer Institute, reached out to us, and we coordinated these rides. And over the course of 6 months of transporting Wade and Carol back and forth from their apartment to the Cancer Institute, our drivers really got to know them. And stories were shared about the struggles of what they were going through, realizing that Wade was nearing the end of his life. And we had drivers, some of our volunteer drivers, that would specifically request, hey, the next time they need a ride, let me know, I want to drive them. And Wade and Carol got to the point where they would request specific drivers because of that relationship that was being built. Toward the end of Wade's life, I don't tend to do a lot of driving because I'm in the office coordinating things, but I had grown so close to them that I was taking the rides. I was giving the rides to them, and I would go, and Carol knew that I had my oldest daughter really loved dogs, and so she would bring out pictures of her dog for me to give to my daughter, and she would bring out little bags of cookies that she had baked to give to the drivers. In October of last year, Wade passed away. And that was really hard on our drivers because of the community and the relationship that had been built there. And we hadn't heard anything from Carol at all after that. Many times we don't. We're kind of a behind-the-scenes organization, and while we do build and develop these relationships, most of the time, once folks no longer need the transportation, we kind of fall by the wayside in their minds, and that's fine. They move on in their lives. Well, just this last week, I got a phone call from Carol, and she called and she was in tears, and she said, I haven't been taking care of myself since Wade died, but I feel like I need to go to the doctor. And can you give me a ride? So we set up the ride. I went out and I picked her up, and as you can see, I'm an ordained minister, and when folks find out that I'm an ordained minister, they usually begin dumping all of their everything on you. And Carol and I pulled up outside the clinic where she went for the doctor's appointment, and she started just crying. And we sat there for about 25 minutes before she went into her appointment, as she talked about her the struggle that it's been after her husband died, and how it's been a strain on the relationship with her stepkids, and how she's struggled to pay rent and be able to provide groceries, and she didn't know what she was going to do, and she was having a really hard time. And she went into her doctor's appointment, and she came back out, and when she came out, she was like a totally different person. She was happy and bubbly, and I said, well, it must have been a great appointment. I never feel like that after going to the doctor, but good for you, that must have been fantastic. Well, the social workers there at the clinic had hooked her up with resources for food and rental assistance and counseling, and some health problems that she had. They were able to identify and get her some medication for. And when we got back to her house, the same thing. She sat in the car for another 20 minutes, and she said, I never would have gone. She said, I don't trust Uber, I don't trust Lyft, I don't trust taxis, but I knew I could trust Project Car. And I never would have gone to get this help that I needed had it not been for how good of care you all took of Wade in his last 6 months. So that's mostly what Project Car does. We're a transportation service, yes, but we see our role in transportation as to support people's self-worth and dignity and well-being in the process, to help them understand that they do indeed bear God's image, and that they're teaching something about what it means to follow Jesus in the process. Now, the other 40% of what we do is we work with churches and social service organizations to provide rides for their members, so like First Presbyterian Church. We currently have 16 churches and organizations that we work with. Among them are Lifescape and Dakota Abilities, providing rides for their clients with developmental disorders, getting them to work and adult care and life skills classes. But every Sunday morning, we transport about 40 people to church services all over Sioux Falls. These are exclusively senior citizens who have no other way to get to the spiritual care that they need on Sunday mornings. And so we do that, and we work exclusively with a team of volunteers. I'm the only paid staff person at Project Car. Every week we have 30 volunteers that get into a fleet of vehicles that we own and we insure and we fuel. And I give them a run sheet that identifies who they're picking up, where they're taking them, what time they need to be there, all of that information. And the volunteers go out and they give these rides. Now, for some of these senior citizens that we give rides to on Sunday mornings, this is the only time they get out during the week, is on Sunday to go to church. We have one woman that we give a ride to Asbury United Methodist Church, just a few blocks away from here. And we pick her up and we take her, and she's always the last one that we take home on Sunday because she sticks around the church and talks until everyone except the pastor has left. And the pastor's standing at the door waiting to lock it. And we pull up and she gets in the car. And then she always, every driver, without fail, every week, she tells them, take the long way home. And so our drivers are great. And they do that. And they take the long way home and they talk to her. And she says, I don't have anybody to talk to, and I don't get out much, and this just means the world to me. And so this is what we do in Sioux Falls. It's I don't know if I can say this in a Presbyterian church, but it's not a terribly sexy ministry. I mean, we're not the ones that are making the news all the time, and we're not particularly glamorous. You know, our fleet is unassuming sedans, and most of our volunteers are retired folks, and it's just kind of a quiet way of serving our community, the people who need it most, to medical appointments, to church activities. I am so excited about First Presbyterian becoming a member organization with Project Car. I've had a lot of great conversations with Jana. You have a real treasure in Jana. She's a wonderful person to work with. I wanted to talk a little bit about volunteering because most of you look like you could volunteer with Project Car. Volunteering is super easy. You have to be between the ages of 25 and 79. While I don't discriminate against age, our insurance company does. So if you're older than age 80, unfortunately, our insurance company can't insure you. But between the ages of 25 and 79, if you have a relatively clean driving record, so no moving violations or accidents in the prior 3 years, and you like being around people. That's it. That's all it takes to be a driver for Project Car. You don't have to provide your own insurance, your own fuel, your own car, nothing. You show up, everything's put together and planned for you. Most of our shifts are between 2 and 4 hours, and you'll give between 5 and 10 rides to people. It's all coordinated. There's no set schedule unless you wanted one. We use an online scheduling system where folks can just go to our website, pick a driving slot they want, sign up for it. We have some drivers that drive as much as every day, and I think he drives that much because his wife just needs him out of the house. But we have other drivers who drive just once a month or once every 2 months, just as they're able to. And it's very easy. You come into the office. Right now, we're located at First Lutheran Church, but in the next few months, we'll actually be moving over to Asbury. But you come into the office, you get the run sheet that has the information about who you're picking up. You grab your keys, you're on your way. And you get to know that the people you're helping are unbelievably appreciative of the work that is being done. The people who are going to healthcare appointments and worship Bible studies and volunteer activities during the week, but especially the people on Sunday mornings that get to go to church services. I'm sure with First Presbyterian it was the same with everywhere else. COVID was really hard. COVID was really hard on maintaining the community that churches work so hard to build. Now that COVID is over, we especially have some of these seniors that they were locked in nursing home facilities and assisted care facilities for years, and now's their chance to get out, and they're excited to get out and get back to worship. So if you have even an inkling of volunteering for Project Car, come do it, because I guarantee you, just one time of driving, and you'll be hooked. Our drivers, they stick around for a long time. This last spring, we just celebrated our longest tenured driver. He's been driving with us since 1992. He started driving on Sunday mornings while he was a janitor with the school district. He wanted something to do on Sunday mornings, and he retired about 15 years ago and is still driving for us. He drives twice a week, and 30-something years of driving for Project Car. And many of our drivers are like that, 5, 10, 15, 20 years of volunteering. Because it's easy, it makes a difference, and kind of on the selfish side of it, when you get finished with it, you feel really good about what you've done. And sometimes that really helps, just feeling good about what you've done. So thank you all so very much for having me. I would love to take any questions if anybody had questions about what we do or volunteering. Yes, ma'am.
What's the time frame on a Sunday morning?
So we do our first pickups at 7:30 on Sunday mornings, and then our last pickups at noon. That doesn't mean that the drivers are driving from 7:30 to noon. Most of the drivers are driving anywhere from, might be from 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. It just depends on how the schedule works out. With First Presbyterian joining and new riders, the schedule is going to shift as I try to work things around. And then, do you all change service times from summer to fall? Okay, thank you, because that drives me nuts when churches do that, because then I have to rearrange the whole schedule. And so, yeah, it's usually anywhere between 2 and 3 hours on a Sunday morning, somewhere between the hours of 7:30 and 12. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Sure, yeah. So the first question was, where do we get our funding since the rides are provided for free? We do a lot of looting and pillaging. No. So for the healthcare rides are provided to the community at no charge. Those are subsidized through, we do a lot of grant writing and fundraising on our own. We have a very generous base of donors that provide funding for that. We also receive funding from the Sioux Empire United Way for that program, and we do get some pretty substantive grants from Sanford and Avera to pay for those rides. So between United Way, Sanford, and Avera, that covers about 70% of the cost of healthcare rides, and then the other 30% we do fundraising for. For rides for churches, things like that, through our member organization program, we do a split. The member organization pays for about 70% of the cost of a ride, and then we do fundraising to cover the other 30%. So for the rides, for example, that are provided to First Lutheran, First Presbyterian, First Presbyterian will be invoiced for the number of rides provided based on that kind of formula. And this year it was like $8 a ride. Yep. The second question was, would we be interested in electric vehicles? Absolutely. The biggest cost that we have by far is for vehicles. Up until this year, all we've ever had, we've relied on people donating vehicles to us. We've been able to save money to buy a few vehicles, but this year we were really excited. For the first time ever, the state of South Dakota gave us a $35,000 grant to buy a brand new vehicle. So we bought one. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to buy an electric or a hybrid because of some government regulation. But yeah, we are 100% open to that for sure. Yep. Any other questions?
During the week, what are the hours of Project Car?
Yeah, so during the week we run from 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. And all of the shifts are kind of staggered throughout the day, ranging anywhere from an hour and a half to 4 hours. So we have some very early birds that they like driving first thing in the morning, and some folks that if I call them before 10:30, they're not going to answer the phone. So, yeah.
Could you talk for a moment about, as a rider, kind of the qualifications of the rider?
Okay, the question was about qualifications for the rider. The only qualification we have is that you have to be able to get in and out of a car on your own. That's it. You have to live in Sioux Falls and get in and out of a car on your own. Our insurance doesn't allow our drivers to help anybody, so we can't have anybody that is in a wheelchair. You can use a walker or a cane, and we can help with walkers, canes, we can help with seat belts, we can help with loading any bags. We just can't physically help an individual in and out of the car. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. There are times when people just have trouble, and so we help them out. Shh, do not tell the insurance company that. And now it's on camera, me saying that. So it just happens sometimes. But otherwise, there's no qualification. There's no application process. There's nothing like that. You call in, give me your name, phone number, address, where you need to be, what time you need to be there. We set up the ride for you. Question was how far in advance? About a week in advance is what I tell folks. Right now, though, our schedule is full until the first week in October. We need about another 5 to 10 volunteer drivers to be able to meet the demand that's out there. That doesn't mean if you call, I'm going to tell you no. I work really, really hard to squeeze people into the schedule. Oftentimes, if it means that I have to go out and drive to take people. I'm probably, your pastor's probably much better at this. I'm a terrible pastor when it comes to telling people no. I will tell everyone yes when they ask for help. And so I'm not very good at sticking by my own guidelines. So, so about a week's notice would be great for my own mental health, I think.
I can attest some of our phone tag was because he was out driving. So he is truly dedicated to that and has been out numerous times driving to meet the needs.
How do you seek out new drivers? I mean, how do you do that?
The question was, how do we seek out new drivers? We do a lot of things like this, coming and speaking with church groups. We go to various health fairs and social service fairs around town. This coming Saturday, Health Connect of South Dakota is doing their big annual health awareness fair at the Sioux Falls Convention Center, where social service organizations and nonprofits that do anything health related have booths set up to sort of talk about what they do. And we'll be there recruiting drivers. I give presentations at social service clubs like Kiwanis Club and things like that. I've spoke to the Lions a few times. The biggest thing by far, though, and those of you that work in church work like you all know this, the biggest way to do any kind of recruitment, though, word of mouth. People hear your stories of someone who's actively involved in what's going on, and they want to get involved too. So that tends to be the biggest way that we get new volunteer drivers is from existing volunteer drivers telling stories to their friends and getting them involved. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. We have 5 cars. We have 4 sedans and 1 small SUV. Yep. Nope, our insurance does not allow drivers to drive their own car. So we provide all of the, so when you come to volunteer for Project Car, we add you to our liability insurance so that anytime you're driving any of our cars, you're not liable at all. You get into an accident, anything like that. There's no liability on you personally. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, no, our insurance is pretty strict about that. If we have a volunteer that winds up driving their own car, they're personally liable. It doesn't cover them. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So do you do a driving interview with people to make sure they're good?
I haven't had the need to. Why, are you feeling like someone should ride along with you?
I'm just thinking of which of my friends I would recommend.
Yeah. No, we don't do a drive. So the process is when someone decides they want to volunteer, we have them do a ride along with one of our existing drivers. They just kind of get the feel for what's going on. They meet some of the folks that we drive around. Some of our drivers, some of our new recruits, they feel comfortable with just one. Sometimes they want to do 2 or 3 ride-alongs to kind of get a hang for it. I largely just rely on the insurance company telling me whether or not they have a clean driving record. So I don't have any volunteers that have ever had any issues. So most of the time, they're kind of self-weeding if they think they have other bad drivers. So the maximum age limit is 79. Now it's kind of goofy the way the insurance works. If you start volunteering with us and you're 79 today, you can stay with us until you're 150. The insurance company doesn't care. But if you're a brand new driver who's 80, the insurance company will say no. Yeah. So we have a couple of drivers who are over age 80, but they've been with us for a number of years. Yeah. Yeah. Take up the age discrimination problem with the insurance industry. That's, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
The number of vehicles you have serving needs are key to eliminate the backlog.
Yeah. So the question was, what would assist with eliminating the backlog more? Is it that we need more drivers or that we need more vehicles? Each vehicle that we have provides about 2,500 rides a year. That's kind of its capacity. We have 5 vehicles right now, so just doing the math, our capacity could be about just under 13,000 rides. Our volunteer capacity, however, to be able to provide those rides right now is about 11,000. So we need more volunteers before we need more cars. That's the biggest issue, is just volunteer recruitment. If we had between 5 and 10 additional volunteers, then we could start eliminating the backlog, and then for sure we would need a new vehicle. But it's kind of chicken and egg thing going on there. Yes, ma'am. I don't care if there's a tornado, you're driving through it. No, it's how do we handle inclement weather? So, what we do is we follow the Sioux Falls School District cancellation policy in the winter. If the schools are closed, we're closed. If the schools are delayed in the mornings, we don't start until noon. If the schools close early, we close at noon. That's sort of our baseline. There's lots of times where you guys probably are sure that, when you're out driving, you think, why are the schools open today? Because these roads are terrible. There are some days that I live up in Del Rapids, so there are some days if I'll be down on my drive-in at 6:30 in the morning, I'll say, no, we're not going out today. And then the other thing is that if the Sioux Area Metro, the bus system, goes on any snow routes only, then we close. So we try to be very sensitive to the fact that folks don't want to be out driving when you have to shovel the car out and drive on roads that are slick. Yeah. Yep. Well, thank you all so very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you.
So, do you want to say something about what the deacons did for Project Car?
Okay, so in working with Christopher and the Deacon team, coming together to do a donation to Project Car, so that our riders do not have to pay any of those monies or anything for the rides. So the deacons worked together to come up with a solution to the transportation issue here at church, to kind of turn it over to Project Car if we can, for volunteers and for any of those that need a ride. If you have any questions about that process or you want any help with that at all, you can contact me and Congregational Care, and I can help guide you through that process. So I have here Cherise Golier. She is going to talk to you about the Congregational Care aspects that the deacons have been up to for the last year.
Okay, I'm not going to have time to read the whole mission statement. Thank you for that, so less time for me to talk. That's a hard act to follow there. So I am part of the Congregational Care team. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Apostle Paul's organic metaphor of the church offers an image of a congregation as a living body of independent and interwoven parts in which mutual care overcomes divisions, builds unity, and equips the body to participate in Christ's ongoing work in the world. So the CCT's goal is to nurture the connection between the church, the congregation, and Christ's mission. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about this last year, what we've been doing. On board, I really had to pray about becoming a deacon with my busy life as a nurse at Sanford, but it felt right to do this, and it's been really just a joy to my life with my children out of the household. It's been a really great thing for me to be a part of. So all the deacons join in visiting, reaching out to members in the hospital, rehab facilities, care facilities, and hospice care. Deacons also join elders in preparing and serving communion to the congregation. We did not hold a formal meeting in July 2022, as this is our practice. So in August of 2022, we gave $1,000 to PeaceWorks, Recent events include Stir the Soup. Some of you have been a part of this. The Young and the Rest of Us and the Veterans Breakfast held the end of May. Walking devotions held Tuesdays at noon, or Wednesdays, at noon for an hour at the Western Mall. And then in September of 2022, Young and the Rest of Us at 3 p.m. in the Covenant Center. Some of you have joined in that. I have done this once. It's a lot of fun. CCT will once again be sending cards and care packages to college students. I did a part of that since I have a college student, so that was fun. Reaching out to the people, and the college students do appreciate that. I did receive a message from my daughter Brooke saying, "Mom, I got my gift card. This is great. Now I can go shop for things that I really need." So it does not go unnoticed for that. Let's see here. Cards will be in the narthex in the future for congregation to sign, so we'll, I think, continue to do that. And then we'll be putting some fall-type basket goodies to be delivered to homebound members. They will need help with these deliveries. They are looking at creating some connections between homebound members and kids in our congregation, which are prayer partners. The goal was to make some lasting connections. We're also working on getting interview recorded of people being recognizing during Reformation Sunday. CCT will be starting up their weekly walking devotional group. This will be Western Mall every Wednesday from 12 to 1. The first walk was this last October 5th. Then going on to October of 2022, walking and devotions at the Western Mall has started, and 3 people attended the first walk. Stir the Soup will be was 10/16. This is all in the past now, what I'm talking about. CCT will once again be sending cards to the college students. Let's see here. Going on to November of 2022, walking at the Western Mall devotional time is going well. 3 to 4 people coming for that. Stir the Soup was held. About 10 people attended. They had fun, had by all. Let's see here. I'm just going to not read everything through here. And then December 22, we did not meet formally, but we're busy with the angel tree. 23, January, Young and the Rest of Us will be held on Sunday the 15th. We decided to cancel the Wednesday mall walks due to low attendance, and I think some due to the weather getting there. CCT asked for help with delivering the Lenten devotional books along with bread to members at home and in care facilities. That took place 2/12 of 23. They will be sending out another round of gift cards to college students, which we did. We also had good discussion regarding getting back to food type gatherings, Monday, Thursday potluck, Pentecost brunch, etc. And then February of 2023, we're talking about looking to start up coffee fellowship again. Deacons would lead this during Lent and see how the response goes. Also, that would be held in the lounge. We did a Monday, Thursday potluck that took place April 6th. Other groups will be invited to this gathering. As you all know, when we had that, the way basketball groups that use the Covenant Center, Korean Church, Ukrainians, we had that. And then we helped with delivering the Lenten devotional books along with bread to members at home in the care facilities. That was fun. That was part of that. That was great. And that took over President's Day weekend. Let's see here, March of 2023, Lenten devotional and hot crust bun delivery went well. Young and Rest of Us met on the 19th of March. Deacons are encouraged to come. We had sent out cards to college students, and we had a bunch of you sign the cards in the back. And then we had the potluck, and I think that was a great, was a wonderful meeting up again after COVID had. It was wonderful to have a whole group of you again. And then April, we didn't have a formal meeting, but instead hosted a church-wide Monday, Thursday potluck, which I just talked about. May of 2023, we had a church-wide tailgate in Canaries baseball game on the 6th of June, and we provided food. We had 100 tickets. A lot of you in this room did come to that. That was a fun time. And then we sent out a survey for the congregational needs and expectations that was sent out. And then we talked about Project CAR and becoming a designated church for them. And then in June of 2023, we had a great turnout at the Canaries baseball game. It was a hot one, but we did great. And I think that about sums it up to this point. So, do you want me to ask if there's any questions? Otherwise, I'll hand over the mic to Denise.
Thank you, Charisse. My name is Denise Kolba, and I am in my 3rd year serving deacons here at First Presbyterian Church. And like Charisse, it's been a blessing, and it's been really a good time to work with other members of this congregation to serve the people of our community. So I am part of the neighborhood care team, and our mission is really based on the Good Samaritan story in Luke. Which of the 3 became a neighbor to the man attacked by the robbers? And it was the one who treated him kindly. Jesus tells us to go and do the same. So the neighborhood care team's goal is to connect and collaborate with the congregation's desire to serve our community. So we have some guiding principles, these targeted interventions. We want to come alongside others and invite the congregation to engage in our efforts. We want to meet our neighbors in the need, in the manner, and the place where they are currently. We demonstrate neighborly values with respect. We are respectful, and we serve with dignity, and then we also serve with the spirit of radical hospitality. So we love to give bountifully. So I'm going to do a little bit of a overview, too, of some of the activities that the neighborhood care team portion of the deacons has been involved in. We do all go, I don't remember if Charisse talked about this, but we do visits to members in the hospital, rehab facilities, hospice care, too, as well. And we also join in serving communion with the deacons. So going back to August of last year in 2022, some of what we did, we gave $1,000 to Peaceworks. That's that local sewing group in our church that does wonderful things, so we help to support that. Also, monetary funds were given to assist immigrants in filing their visas and waivers, as well as immunizations for their pets and boarding for their pets so that they could receive care. One of the members could receive care at a behavioral health treatment center. In September, one of the things that we did, we assisted a neighbor of our church with $1,300 to help with their rent and deposit on an apartment that better fit their needs. In October, Greater Goods, if you're not familiar with that, it's a great facility out here north of town that has just a lot of overstock stuff that like Amazon and Walmart and those places help to donate or give things to. So we were able to go out there and use some of the funds to buy like a comforter and sheets for a family that we had in our church that needed some of that. We also, in October, were able to purchase gift cards and hygiene projects for some of the middle schools in the town, so we do that annually as well. So we have a relationship with our middle schools, and we go out there and provide that. We purchased $1,000 of food to the food bank to replenish through a food bank to replenish the blessing box, which was out here in front of our church. I think that's now a sharing library. We've converted that to that. In November, we used Greater Goods again to purchase bingo prizes for an assisted living home that needed some of those things for their activities. We partnered with the VA and their homeless vet outreach program, purchased hats and gloves and socks. So a bunch of us went shopping and purchased a bunch of those outdoor needed things in preparation for winter, and we're able to do that for homeless vets. Gift cards, again, along with some feminine hygiene projects to Whittier schools. We provided 15 plus volunteers for the Garfield Community Center. So 95 households were served, including 307 people, 97 children, 41 seniors. A total of 3,308 pounds of stuff was given out during that night. In January, in December we do the angel tree, which all of you help to support too. So we are able to give gifts and food boxes to people in our community that aren't able to have those things for Christmas. So that's always a big, wonderful thing that we are involved in. Beyond that, January, we gave some more stuff to Sharing Christmas to some families that were left out. In February, we gave some more bed and bedding to family in needs. We gave $2,000 to the Union Gospel Mission. If you remember, they had a water leak and much of their building was damaged. So we're able to support them in helping to get them back on their feet and get their things repaired so that they can do their service. We also delivered boots and gloves to the church on the street. In March, we approved to give up to $2,500 for the summer reading program at Laura Wilder. So for years, we had a collaboration with them where we donated books, and somehow they have another source. They're getting a lot of books, so they identified that they could use some help with the summer reading program, so we donated to that as well. A new project, this was kind of fun in March too, was with Pine Ridge Reservation. It's called Auntie is Coming to Visit, but it really is a program for educating girls on changes that they go through as they become adolescents. And so we were able to support that as well with feminine hygiene projects, as well as what they might need for some educational materials for that. In May, we supported Laundry with Love. A lot of you help with that as well in this church. It's a great service to those who aren't able to get laundry done on their own. We also supported the Kor Wakau project. That is a school in South Sudan, and they have really struggled lately with some flooding as well. So it takes, how long to get to that? Once you get to a place, you walk for miles to deliver the stuff that they need. So it's really a good project that we support, as well as the mobile food project pantry, and then the Eat Well mobile market. I don't know if you're familiar with that. John Bo Richter has been a part of the development committee on that, or the board of our church, and so it's going to be a mobile grocery store that will go to those food deserts in the city, places where people are not able to find good, healthy foods, and it's going to be stocked with good and healthy foods. So we will also continue to support that as we move forward. So any questions on neighborhood care? All right. Or anything of the deacons? All right, none.
So just a reminder with the deacons, the Good Sam Fund is a fund that was established here, 10 plus years ago. That money, any undesignated gift, 10% comes off the top of that right away every year, and so that goes into the Good Sam Fund. The Good Sam Fund may only be used for people that are not us, anybody outside the walls, and so the neighborhood care team spends Good Sam money on people that are not us. We have relationships with Edison and Laura Wilder. We support McGovern, so we have relationship with schools, and so everything that Denise said, that is funded from the Good Sam Fund. Congregational care is, obviously us, and that comes out of the general fund. So everything Charisse talked about comes from the general fund. So that's how deacons are funded, if that makes sense. Okay, so I was just going to mention something about next week, if I could. quickly. All right, so we are in this time of discernment as we look at staffing. We're looking at everything. Everything is on the table. We have an aging building. We have an aging congregation. We have the need for congregational care support. And so going forward, what is staffing going to look like? Do we need one pastor? Do we need two? Can we have, yada, 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 all this. And so the elders have been doing a lot of quantitative data collecting. You did the survey. The congregational care survey was a quantitative thing. We're looking at demographics. We're looking at attendance. We're looking at just all kinds of numbers, which is great for us number people. But we also need to collect qualitative data. And that is, we need to hear the stories. We need to hear what people are thinking. And so next week is actually an opportunity to contribute to the qualitative data part of things. And so Lori Walsh, who is just a fabulous interviewer, will be here next week to help coax out some stories that you all will bring, and just to give you some thoughts about what we might want to share. So remember a time when there was a lot of energy in the church. Think about that and share a story about that. Or remember a time when you felt really connected to the church. What was that like? What are you most proud of doing at FPC? And what are you most proud of FPC doing? These are the kinds of stories we want to get going. What does FPC mean to you personally? And how do you think FPC is perceived in the community? We need to discern who we are. So that's what this qualitative time will be, just hearing stories so we can really get a good feel for who we think we are. Because as we go forward looking at staffing, you're going to want to hire somebody that will come alongside what you already know about yourself. You don't want to hire somebody who will come in with their own agenda, who will go, oh, I think I know what these people need. That would be bad. Don't do that. So we're gonna have a robust conversation. We're gonna have a really good feeling of who we think we are. And so that will start next week. And Lori Walsh will be asking the questions and interviewing, and how fun will that be? And then the week after that, is that right? The week after that is when we will present the congregational care survey data, all that data. I have a couple PhD scientists. This is so much fun. Jason Dauma, PhD in mathematics, Eric Wells, PhD in physics, and John Boerichter, who is, I don't even know what he does. It's, but these guys are sitting down and they are looking at the data. When you have scientists at that level, they know how to look at data without a bias. They know how to look at trends. They know how to look at data points that, like, what does that mean? And oh my gosh, it's been so much fun. Anyway, so they will present the results from that survey. Jan has been a part of that too. So we have that whole congregational care aspect in there too. So that will be the following week, and I believe, are we meeting in the sanctuary for that? We might be in the sanctuary. Or we might be, you'll find us. We'll be here or there. Next week we'll be in here. Okay.
And neither of those will be live streamed so that we don't inhibit.
Right. Right. The storytelling will not be live streamed next week, just so we can really have good sharing, memory sharing, not inhibit anything because, oh my gosh, the camera's on me. And then also when we present the congregational care data, so as not to violate any privacy of anyone that will not live stream that one either. Okay. Are we done? Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here and sign up to be a driver. Oh, there's brochures, there's pamphlets, there's all kinds of stuff.
How about if we just put it on this chair and people can pick up